Hello, everyone. Happy Thursday. My name is Carly Bell, and I love to do machine embroidery tutorials. And welcome to, I believe we're on week 9 of our sew along, where we are trying to complete the Oh So Delightful quilt from Kimberbell. I'm so excited because the quilt is actually done. We finished it last week. It's so pretty. I love all of the blocks. Especially love how we played with some customization on the last section of the quilt where the quilt called for 2 of these cross stitch heart blocks, and I replaced one with my logo, which I digitized using Stitch Artist a while back. So I kind of made it into a little applique patch and added it here, and I put the year. And then on the sewing machine, I just used Embroidery Essentials and some of the native fonts that are built into it, and just added sip and stitch here on the bottom of my sewing machine. So I really love the way it turned out. I hope everyone that's been following along is doing good, and your blocks are coming out good, and hopefully you're ready today. If not, you always have this video to refer back to later. So just to stop and say hi to a couple people that are watching live. Hi, good morning, Terry and Lori and Retha and Susan and Lady Bear. I'm so excited to see y'all. Ooh, Lady Bear's from Louisiana. Me too. Down in New Orleans. So yay, and you're coming to Dallas for the applique getaway. Yay, I'm so excited. Ooh, that just reminds me. I was supposed to tell people about that in my email this morning and I forgot. So if you're not familiar, the applique getaway that Lady Bear is referring to is an in-person embroidery expo. I always want to say like convention, conference. It's a fun in-person get-together where there is awesome shopping. They have vendors set up booths in the big like banquet hall, and you get to meet all the people that you may already buy stuff from online, and then find new shops that you've never heard of. And then there's tons of education classes, and that's where I'm gonna be this July. And I'll be teaching classes on embrilliance. I'll be teaching classes on quilting with your embroidery machine. I'll have a class on stabilizers and on organizing your embroidery files. So I'm really excited to participate in that. And I do have a referral link. I'll put it in the chat right now. Let's see if I can get this. Copy and paste. Okay, so it should pop up on both the Facebook comments and the YouTube live chat. That is my referral link if you are interested in signing up and coming to the applique getaway. So your ticket is going to get you into the show. They have different options of ticket packages. Some will include lunch, some will include a t-shirt, some include all the classes, some include just a couple classes. So you tailor it to you. And then we do have a special attendee rate at the hotel that the conference is at. So it's like all in one spot. You don't need to leave. I believe the rate is only $139 a night at that Westin in Dallas Fort Worth, right by the airport. And all you need to do is arrange how you get there. So whether you want to fly or you can drive, and you're very local and close, and you don't even need to stay at the hotel. So if you have any questions about it, just feel free to either message me on Facebook, or you can email me at hello@carlybell.com, and I'll help you get it all together. And then we're going to make probably a little text message group of all the people that are coming, so that we can meet up when we're there. Okay, sorry, got a little off topic there. So Terry wants asked real quick, does this happen every year? Yes, it happens every summer. Sometimes it's happened in June, sometimes it's happened in July. So it's kind of not always been the same weekend, but it's always in the summer. It's always in Dallas, and it usually is always at the same hotel. They switched hotel a few years back, and I think they're really happy with the most recent one. So that's the one where they'll continue to have it. All right. So today we're done with the quilt, and the next part is going to be to add the borders. And there are 2 borders. There's a skinny inner border and there's a thicker outer border. And if you've never done borders with Kimberbell and quilting before, it's really cool. I feel like I still am myself. I'm trying to get it like just right. Some of the quilting patterns are super duper forgiving with placement because essentially we're going to be embroidering one continuous strip of fabric. Some quilting patterns are super forgiving. What I found yesterday when I was practicing before today's live is that the ruler one is not as forgiving. So mine doesn't look perfect, but no one's going to notice it but me, so it's fine. But this is our inner border. That's going to go right next to our blocks here. And then we also have a thicker outer border, and that is this one. And it has a really cute So Happy pattern with scissors and spools of thread and sewing machines. Really cute stuff. That's going to go right outside of the inner border. So it's going to look something like this. And then there'll be the binding will be the last bit. But I just wanted to give you a little preview what it's going to look like. I just got started on some of the strips. I'm not finished. We're going to do some strips today. So don't worry, you're seeing this and be like, how did you make that? That's what we're going to go over today. I just tried to get a little bit of a head start in case it doesn't take too long to stitch the pieces I have left. Then we may have time to go ahead and actually piece the borders onto the quilt. So yes, I love the ruler one too. It's so stinking cute. This is one of the many things that drew me to this quilt. I love that. And I told people that want to splurge on the whole background quilting design package because it was a bit expensive if you didn't get it on sale like I did a few months ago. If you're just catching up with the sew along now and are buying all the pieces, the background quilting bundle is a bit expensive. And one of my tips to save money is you don't have to buy all of them. If you want to do background quilting with each of your blocks, I say you can narrow it down just to 2. I would buy just the Hobby 6, which I don't have anything in front of me with it, but it looks like the scissors and the pin cushion and stuff, and it's just all over quilting design. You can use that on every single one of those blocks. And then I would purchase the border quilting, and that's going to come with these 2 designs because I think this really makes the quilt. So that's how you can save some money. All right. Retha asks, did I put SF 101 on the back of the quilt? Yes, I did. I put it on the back of the fabric. So let's go over all that because I myself had questions yesterday because I was like, let me start getting this together so that I have a good idea of what I'm doing when we go live. And Retha actually emailed me, and I saw her email this morning, and I was like, she had the same exact question I had. So let's get into it. So you are going to need whatever fabric you're using for the inner border. I bought the fabric kit that came with all the same pretty fabrics as the picture example on the book. So I'm using the yellow polka dot for the inner border and this pretty dark bluish, tealish floral fabric for the outer border. Okay. So you want to get those fabrics. When I first started, like the first video where we were prepping all the envelopes with all the pieces for all the blocks, I did not do the borders, the binding, the backing. I didn't mess with any of that. So I didn't actually jump into it until yesterday because I was like, ooh, I don't even have anything cut. Now, the first question that popped up I also say the first 2 questions was, number 1, is the Pellon SF 101 really necessary for the borders? And I did a little research and people were saying yes, they like to put the Pellon SF 101 on the back of their borders. They help the quilting look crisper. So I figured definitely doesn't hurt putting it. Now, in the past, I have done border quilting with no Pellon SF 101. And let's see if I could find an example Oh no, I think they're all, wait, 1 second. I have a basket of all my quilting stuff here in the girls' playroom. See if I can get it without knocking everything down. You know, I got like things stacked on top of each other like a pyramid in there. This is my basket. I was trying to organize all my samples where I had them like all my quilting stuff in one basket, all my in the hoop stuff in one basket, all my baby stuff. So these, none of these were it. These, no, not this one. This one, my Christmas one. So this is made from Me Time, which is under Kimberbell, all the same peoples. This is one of their subscription boxes. It's called Perfectly Peace. I have a box up there. It's an awesome subscription, and they send you everything to make a little mini quilt. This can be a pillowcase. This could be a table topper. They also give you some project ideas to make larger things. But anywho, when you get it, they give you background quilting for the blocks, and they also give you border quilting. And so this one was like, I don't know if you could see it, but it's a little pretty like ribbon with some bows going across. So I did that, and I did not use Pellon SF101 on the back, and it still came out cute. So I'd say it's a choice, and I chose for the quilt to use it because I hadn't tried it in the past. All right. That was my first thing that popped in my head. Should I do that? I went ahead and did it. Second question was, when you look at the instruction book and you go to page 7 where the cutting instructions are. So on this page is all the cutting instructions for the blocks. On this page is the cutting instructions for the borders, the backing, and the binding. Looking at here. If you remember, for all the filler blocks, we adjusted the cutting suggestions by what, 1/2 inch, I think. So I was questioning, does the borders need the same adjustment? And I didn't know. And I figured, well, wouldn't hurt to try. I measured the piece of fabric that they gave us in the fabric quilt for the inner borders, and it was wide enough so that I could cut strips a little bit bigger than the cutting instructions. The cutting instruction said 1.5 inches. So I ended up going ahead and cut 2-inch strips, and I stitched 2 of the strips. And I was like, okay, I had trouble lining things up. And now I'm looking back, I'm like, maybe if I would have cut it exactly how it should have been cut, or the instruction said, maybe I would have had an easier time lining things up. So today, for the next 2 strips that we're going to make live, I'm going to trim them down to 1.5 inches before we start. And to test my theory of seeing, okay, I tried one set where I cut them a little bit wider. The outer borders, I cut to the suggested width of 3.5 inches. And I did find this was a bit easier to line everything up and stitch down. So from my little bit of experience here with testing this, my suggestion, I think, would be to cut it the width that it says in your instruction book, where the inner borders are 1.5 inches wide, the outer borders are 3.5 inches wide. And I just went ahead and cut the width of fabric. And then don't be like me, where I was doing the yellow first and I cut all my strips, and then I was like, probably should have ironed my Pellon SF101 on it first before I trimmed it. So I cut strips of the Pellon SF101 a smidge smaller than the width of my fabric so that I could iron it right in. But when I did my blue fabric, I ironed almost the whole thing. I figured out what I was actually going to end up cutting. And I ironed all the SF101 on the back of this fabric. And then I cut my strips of 3.5 inches wide. So do that. That's easier than trying to cut the strips of Pellon after. And then don't worry about trying to, like, if you have a bolt of Pellon SF101 like I do, what I ended up doing was cutting pieces like the width of my 4 strips for the outer is what? It was 14 inches. So I cut 14 inches from here to here and went that way, iron that on, and then I did it again. Don't try to, your pellon doesn't have to be the exact shape and length as your strips of fabric. You can piece together the pellon on the back, so that, like, in my eyes, I was like, I felt like I would maybe have more waste doing it that way. So here's an example. So where is it? Here. You can see with this strip started here, and this is how far that my piece of pellon went. And then I just took the next one and ironed it and went to here. I don't think I'm gonna need this whole length, so I stopped there. If it gets to it where we're measuring and quilting, and I realize, ooh, I need all of this to be quilted, I'll just go ahead and iron another little piece of Pellon SF 101 right there. So these are silly things I think about, so I hope that's helpful to people. And I just want to tell you all the things in case you're new like me, because this is relatively new to me. I've done a little bit of it before, but not to this extent. All right. Let's see. Hi, Marissa. Okay, so I see some questions. Lady Bear says she's a newbie and she wants to know, can we use Heat and Bond Light instead of Pellon SF101? I would say no. They are different. I like to use Heat and Bond Light for my applique projects to kind of make my fabric have a fusible side to iron onto the project I'm appliquing. What the Pellon SF101 is a woven interfacing. This is going to give your fabric more stability, and it's going to make it a little like it's thicker. It gives it less drape. It gives it more structure, and it's going to allow your background quilting to not cause puckering. So I think that's the big thing with people, why people like a fusible woven interfacing on the background fabric of their quilting projects, is it helps prevent puckering. Excuse me. I had to sneeze, but it didn't come out. Okay, so yeah, so that would be my answer to that. I wouldn't substitute those. And Terry is asking, what do I mean by in the hoop? So in the hoop means all your hooping is stabilizer, and you are then embroidering onto the stabilizer, adding elements. So like all of our quilt blocks are done in the hoop. We start with just hooping stabilizer. We're not hooping a shirt. We're not hooping fabric. We're not hooping a towel. Those, I would say, are things that we embroider onto. When I say in the hoop, that means we're kind of making something brand new. We're not embroidering onto something, but we're creating a project on the embroidery machine. And so in this case, the quilt blocks are in the hoop. In other cases, like each of these little 4-leaf clovers was created in the hoop. That makes sense. I did not know about in the hoop projects when I just got into embroidery. Had no clue what it was, and it like blew my mind. And I love them now. They're like my favorite thing. Okay. Okay, so I think that answered all the questions. All right, so we talked about, yes, I did use the fusible backing on the back of my strips of fabric for the borders. And yes, I'm cutting them the width that is recommended in the book. Retha said she did cut her strips to 2 inches. Should I cut them down? That's what I'm going to do, Retha. When I emailed you back, I hadn't done these yet. I did those right after I emailed you, and I think I do like it better, the width that the book says. So I have my strips of fabric here already cut to 2 inches. I'm going to trim them down to 1.5 inches before we start. I wanted to do that before the video started. I'm sorry I never got to it. Okie dokie. So I think those are the big things. Now, the other thing is figuring out how long of a strip you actually need and playing with the designs so that you can figure out how many hoopings you need to do. And the first thing is they suggest that you measure your quilt from top to bottom, but do it in the middle, and in the middle going horizontal. So I actually haven't done that. I just assumed what the size was based on what the book says it should be. So got my little tape measure. Okay, so mine is, I'm probably not doing a great job. It's like 30 1/4 inch down. No, it's probably supposed to be 30 1/2, but it's a smidge less. Okay, and then the width is 18 1/4. So yeah, I would say mine is probably off compared to what I saw. It's what it's supposed to be. That's probably because I'm not the best at piecing together. But that's going to give you an idea of the length of border that you're going to need. What I did was I assumed I needed, oh, and then you have to add some to it, right? Because the top border is going to go over. The inner border will actually be the length. Does that make sense? Because like this one's going to have some overhang like this. And then with that overhang, then this will match up underneath it nicely. And same here. This will have overhang here. And I guess the overhang will need to be 1.25 inches, something like that. We'll figure it out when we actually piece it together. I figured the easiest way would be to have this strip actually be the current length, right? Once you have that, then you'll have a good measurement for your width pieces, and that, you know, the full width has now changed. Okay, so with that in mind, now let's look at the designs and see the options that you have. Okay, so Retha is saying hers is 30 inches. I think that's, I can't remember what somebody said it was supposed to be. Okay, the finished quilt, this one, is 26 by 38. So if I have 1 inch, this finished size is 1 inch, and this finished size is 3 inches, so that's 4. And the binding should only be maybe what, 1/2 inch. So that's 4.5, and my width was 18. So yeah, that's going to put my quilt, my finished quilt's going to be more like 3-ish, 22, 23-ish. So yeah, mine's not going to be as big as what they did. And that's probably because I'm not that great at piecing, but it's fine. It's all going to look cute. As long as it comes together, like as long as it's not like whopped where like one border piece is going way down and the other. And that's where we're going to square it off when it's all done, to make sure that the edges are nice and straight. Okay, let's get started. Let's look at all of the options for the borders. And so then you can start figuring out your process. I'm going to show you mine. It's all going to depend on your hoop sizes available. Now, all the other videos, I have tried to use a 6x10 hoop or less. But today's class, I'm going to use all of my hoops. And so you'll see the process is going to be the same no matter which hoop size you're doing. It's just that you might be able to get a longer stretch or multiples. I'm going to show you how to do multiples go in the width of your hoop as well. So I am going to, what am I going to do? I'm going to open up Embroidery, and I also want to show you the options of things. Okay, computer's going to look crazy for a second. All right, so here's Embroidery, and here is, let's make this big so Embroidery isn't distracting. All right, this is what is this? Let's go back. This is going to call Border Hobby 1 Quilting. Okay, then you have embroidery files, pick whichever format you want, and then here are your options. You have, for the ruler inner border, there are 2 width options. You can make a border that is 1 inch wide, and you can make a border that is 2 inches wide. Okay, and then next is length options. This one's 7 inches long. This will fit in a 5x7 hoop. This is 10 inches long. This will fit in a 6x10 hoop. This is 12, so this is your 8x12 hoop. And this one's 14, which for me is my 9.5x14 hoop. Same thing for the 2s. They have an option for all 4 of those hoop sizes. That's your inner border. Your outer border, they have several width options. They got a 3-inch wide option, a 4-inch wide, a 5-inch wide, and a 6-inch wide. So if you want to make your border extra wide, you can do that. And you would just pick which one you want. And then again, they have 4 hoop options based on length. Now, one thing I want to point out to you is just because this says 10 inches long here, in actuality, when you open it, which I'm going to go ahead and double click it so you can see. When you open it, and let me move this to a 6x10 hoop. This one, 6x10, apply, okay. Back up. And down here in the status bar, they give you information. They tell you the exact measurements of your hoop, and they tell you the exact measurements of the overall design in your hoop. And I can see that the actual width is 1.5, and that's what our fabric strips are cut to. And the length is actually only 9.25, so it's not 10 inches long. So when I start calculating, well, how many hoopings do I need to do to get, 30 inches or a little bit more than 30 inches to have some wiggle room, I need to do 9.25. So let me get my calculator. There you are. Okay, so let's get a calculator out. So what was the length of my quilt again? Let me check. 30 and some. So let's say I want to make at least 31 or 32 inches. Let's see. So if I do 9.25 for 9.25, let's do times 3. If I did 3 hoopings, that only gives me 27.75. This is still not enough. So if I did 9.25 times 4 hoopings, that gives me 37. That's more than enough. So that's when I start thinking about, well, that was me using the 10. What if I did 3 hoopings of this one and 1 hooping of the smaller one? So let me open up the smaller one. This is the one that fits in the 5x7 hoop. It actually is 7 inches. So if I did 3, 9.25 is 9.25. Okay, if I did 3 hoopings of this one, so times 3, and then I did 1 hooping of this one, so plus 7, that gives me 34.75. So in my eyes, that's just saving stabilizer and fabric, because then I'm going to be using stabilizer in my 5x7 hoop versus my 6x10. And I say that goes beyond the strip of fabric that I actually have cut, that's when you can opt for the last hooping being a smaller size. It's all supposed to line up with each other. So I'm going to show you how to do that. Now, if you're working in a 6x10 hoop and you're doing these, you can fit multiples of these. So if I select this and move it over, I can push it over here. Now, what I want to draw to your attention is this outer blue line. That is your placement stitch showing you where to put your fabric. So that really shows you, okay, this is how wide my fabric is on here. There's not going to be any overlap over here on the side where I got to take that into consideration. So just to go over the steps here for you, the first one is the placement for your batting. The second one is the tack down for your batting. I have already cut strips of batting that are, oh, I hate embrilliance. I don't hate embrilliance, but my computer is not happy with embrilliance right now. And it keeps shutting down for no reason. Okay. And then it keeps opening up all these designs that were things I closed out a while ago. If you're interested, this is the design I made for my VIP membership group for their monthly design that I give them. That was all last week's. That's this week's. Nope, I don't want that one. I don't want that one. Okay, so whatever I did went away. So let me open it again. We were on this one, right? Okay. Again, we're going over the steps. The first step is your placement for your batting. The second step is tack down for batting. As I said, I cut my batting strips to fit in here perfectly. I cut the width to fit perfectly, and then I will trim the length once I have my placement mark. So I always skip this step here, the tack down. If you are just working with scrap pieces of batting and you want to just place it over your placement step, you can stitch this step, and then you would trim your batting all around it and then treat it like an applique. All right, so leave that step if your batting is not cut to size. I'm going to delete it, so I'm going to just hit delete on my computer. The next step is the placement for the fabric. In all my blocks in the past, I did not do this step, but I do find it is important for the border, so I'm going to leave that one. Then this tacks down your border, and you'll notice it goes right inside. This is where I was nervous and I thought I needed a wider piece of fabric because I thought the pattern, the design steps was going to be this step was going to be your tack down stitch, but it's not. It's this orange that is a kind of inset by like 1/8 of an inch. That's your tack down. So that's why I think it works out good to have your width of fabric cut, in this case, 1.5 inches. And then your last step is the actual quilting. Now, because I'm going to do some color sort, I need to make sure all of these steps are a different color. And I can see I have 2 blue steps. So I'm going to click one of them, click the color chip, and just change it to any other color. Doesn't matter what color it is. That's just telling my program these are different steps. They need stops in between them. And when I color sort, they'll all go together. All right, now let's back up. So I could essentially move this all the way to the edge over here. And let's see how many I can fit. So now that I have it, I like to do all this step before copying and pasting so that each one is already have my color change in it and the step I don't want to do deleted. If you are doing the step that I deleted, you have to change 2 steps to be a different color because there was another light orange step. So just make sure each step's a different color. All right, now I'm going to go to, I got to highlight it, copy, paste. And I can put this right there. I'm trying to see if I could actually fit 4. I did 2 because I was trying to get, I got 2 strips done before the video. Oh no, you can't fit 4. That sucks. Nope. So it looks like with the 6x10 hoop, the most you'll get is 3 across. So now, since I can't squeeze this in as much as I do, you can put some more space in between them. But like I said, your strips of fabric will fit right in this box. Okay, so here is if you wanted to do 3 strips at a time. That means you're still going to have 1 strip left over. So in my eyes, it'd probably just do better. If you're using a 6x10 hoop, do 2 strips at a time. And then you'll do 2 hoopings, you know, a set of hoopings for 2 strips and another set of hoopings for the other 2 strips. Because you're not going to save any stabilizer by doing 3 in one and 2 in the other. Does that make sense? But it's your own personal preference, however you want to do this. All right, so if I have 2, they're all different colors, then I would go to Utility and Color Sort. This is going to give me a new view. And now when I look at the steps, both placement stitches, both placement stitches, both tack down stitches, both quilting stitches. So they'll all happen at the same time. You are going to do the same thing if you have to do, say we have to do 3 hoopings like this with the 9 1/4. It's saying 9. So this is telling me the overall because I have 2 of them in there. And I probably don't have them lined up just right. So it doesn't say 9 1/4 anymore. So let's see. I could do alignment, center, apply. No, that didn't help. It's supposed to be 9 1/4. If I did 3 hoopings of this and I still need 1 more hooping, but the smaller version, no, I want this one, the 5x7 version. So this is only 7 inches long. You're going to do the same thing. You're going to need to duplicate it and color sort it so that you have just 4 steps and you're doing all of them. Then you're also going to repeat this process for the wider So Happy outer border. So for me, I did use my 9.5 by 14 hoop for this one. And I was doing, where's that hoop? That's the hoop. No, this hoop. See, they both fit in there. I did, all I got done so far was 2 hoopings. I think I need 3, possibly a 4th hooping using the shorter version. But now that I've measured my quilt, I think it is a bit smaller than I was thinking it was going to be. So I might not need that many hoopings. So that is all for the borders. This is, like I said, all going to depend on what hoop size you have. If you have a max hoop size of 5x7, then you are only going to get 2 of the, let's put it in a 5x7 hoop. This one. You're only going to get 2 of the inner borders, and you can only pick the 7-inch length. So you just have to figure out how many times you have to rehoop this to get the lengths that you need for both your horizontal and vertical inner borders. And then if you have a 5x7 hoop, you're only going to be able to do 1 of these at a time. So I would do the 3x7. You can also go wider if you want. If you want to add your border to be a little chunkier, pick whichever width you want. But you're going to have to pick the 7. And you're just going to have to keep rehooping this for all 4 of your strips for your outer border. Okay? Let me know if all that makes sense. I did not see any questions while I was doing that. So just let me, I'm going to go back and look at the comments. Hi, Marina. Hey, Peggy's first live. So glad you're here. Her machine is at the spa. That's okay. The sew along is going to be here for you on YouTube so that you could come back and watch the replays whenever your machine is back from the spa. But I hope she is well and that she comes back very refreshed for you. Yes, lots of options, Linda. Lots of options. Hi, Elizabeth from Oklahoma. All right, Susie X just found me. Yay. Glad you're here. Previous episodes. Yes. If you go to my main YouTube channel, I think there's a button somewhere that says playlists, and you can click on it. Let me show you real quick in case you need a visual. All right. View my channel. That's it. Okay. It's got some weird stuff on it because I got some kind of analytics stuff on there. So my page might not look exactly like yours, but you'll see at the top, Carly Bell. And then if you scroll, this is the section I'm talking about. If you go right here to playlists, you'll see Oh So Delightful Sew Along. And that's going to show you all the videos starting from week 1 all the way to today, week 9. All right, let me go back to the questions. I cut my borders as directed by the pattern. Is that cut to size or is there extra? Peggy, it's perfect. Cut it like the directions say, and that gives you the size you need with the seam allowance figured into it. So you're good. Hi Vanessa. Let's see. Peggy says, after color sorting, is there a way to undo and make changes? No. So like, for example, if you didn't change a color and 2 steps merged as 1 step now in your color sort, go back to your original that's not color sorted, then make your change, then click color sort again. So that's why whenever I go to the color sort option, the new little window pops up, and I can't remember what the options are, but I always click new view so that a new window pops up. So I still have my original unsorted version, and then I have my new sorted version. And if my new sorted version is something is wrong, I go back to my unsorted, make the changes, and then do color sort again. Let me know if that makes sense. Okie dokie. Let's start stitching. So I need a hoop and stabilizer, and y'all need to see my messy craft table. All right, a little bit up close look of this one. So you see, this is the one I cut wide. You see, this is where my alignment was not great. But look, I fixed it because I caught it. And when it stitched this step, no, I didn't catch it. It's still off. This is supposed to be right there. There was another one where I caught it and I moved it. But it seemed like I had trouble every single time. So I don't know if I messed up something in Embroidery when I made the design, but I redid it and resent it to my machine. So hopefully I won't have this problem again. I also think this being too wide may have also caused me trouble. So from what I can see in the design is this stitch is 1/8 of an inch in to where I should have originally had my fabric trimmed to. So when I'm done, I'm gonna take my ruler and I'm gonna just use the where's my ruler? I have no clue. I have my giant one, but where's my, oh, there it is. I have, this is 1/4 inch. This little mark here is 1/8 of an inch. I'm just going to put that line on there and have it lined up good. And then I will trim, you know, the edges for, I have to turn it around, but you get what I'm saying, right? I'll trim those. But before we start, so these are the 2 I have finished. We're going to make 2 new strips now. Before we start, I want to trim these because I think it will make life easier. I wonder if I am decent enough with trimming that I can do them both at the same time. Let's see if that happens. Also, I put my Pellon SF in the middle, so I don't want to just chop off a 1/2 inch on one side. I'm going to be difficult and trim 1/4 inch on each side. I'm probably not going to do this well. Let's do one at a time because I don't have any more of this fabric, and if I mess it up, then it's not going to be happy for me. All right. So I want it to be 1.5 inches. But like I said, if I do that, I won't have it. So let's make it 1 3/4 inches. And I am a bit of a perfectionist, so I'm sorry if I'm adjusting things too much and you would be, I know you're talking to me on your phone or your computer and saying, just trim it already, Carly. All right, 1 3/4 inches, yes? Inch and 3/4. Aretha, you're going to do the same thing as me. And if you haven't ironed your Pellon on the back yet, then you don't need to do each side like I'm doing. You just knock off a 1/2 inch on one side. I'm just being difficult. And then if you haven't trimmed your fabric at all yet, go ahead and trim it to be, cut your strips to be a 1.5 inches wide. Let's start at this end now. Okay, and now I'm gonna put my marks on 1.5 inches, like that. I can feel my rotary cutter is not happening correctly. Probably need to change my blade. Oh no, this was horrible. I didn't do good at all. Okay, ugh. Okay, let's see if I could do this next one better. Oops. Oh, I did get a new rotary blade. Where is it? I got it from Joann's. And they had their clearance sale. I could see my rulers moving. Okay, that one's done. Let's see if I could find my new blade. My rotary cutter. There it is. This is a fancy one. Olfa, O-L-F-A. I think I ended up paying like $12 or $15 for it. How does this work? Okay, so that's how it works. Oh, I like that. That's nice. All right, this one's trimmed, and now my pellon's on all the sides. All right. See if this makes a difference. Inch, because I need 1 3/4 inches now. Ooh, like butter. Nice. Oh, I like that. Oh, and I let it go, it goes back, because I always forget to close mine. And it's funny because y'all watching, the ones that are watching me live are like, don't forget to close your rotary cutter, Carly. Like, thank you, because I need that reminder. This one, it doesn't. Ooh, nice. All right, and now I can actually trim it to 1.5 inches. Okie dokie. So now I'm actually ready. Sorry, I was not before. So I have 2 strips at 1.5 inches wide. I'm gonna look at my sides that have my pillow on. All right, and now I'm gonna put them on the side and get all this stuff on the side. Oh, and then here are my 1-inch strips of batting that are already trimmed up. I got some, I'll just cut them to size to length as we need them. So I got those ready to go. I got my 3-inch wide batting for the other, the wider outer border there. And I'm continuing to use the lightweight woven muslin as my stabilizer instead of using the recommended polymesh cutaway no-show stabilizer. What am I doing? A 6x10 hoop first. Let me get my 6x10 hoop. I did not iron my stabilizer, which is fine. And I cut a long strip. In case you haven't seen any of my other videos, this is my tips for saving you money and then saving you waste. Is I cut a long strip of this woven muslin fabric so that I can try and save on stabilizer. When we were doing the blocks, it worked out really well because I would just stitch my block, then rehoop, and I only had to move it down a smidge. I didn't have to cut all of this off and have all this waste, at the top and bottom of your hoop. And we'll be able to have a little bit of saving. But you see, this is my strip. I just cut it the width of the fabric and about 12 inches wide. Okay, once that is done, then I clip my extra stuff to stay out my way, and we're gonna go to the machine now. So let me check the comments. Did you say you're using a 9.5 hoop for 2 times and then a 5x7? Let me think. So depending on that's what I know I did for my outer border, my inner border. So for you, Retha, for the inner border, and you're using the 9.5 by 14 hoop, you will be able to get all 4 strips into one hooping. And I think you may need to do, yes, 3 hoopings in the 9.5 by 14. And I think 2 of those strips will now be long enough, and just the other 2 strips need to be a smidge longer. And you can do a 1 hooping in the 5x7 to make 2 strips a little bit longer. Measure twice, cut once. Yes. Okay. So what I end up doing is I end up turning my whole body. So my she's talking about my craft table and trimming. So my craft table is this way and my body is right here. And when I'm cutting, I have a corner, like that's the edge of my craft table there. I come stand over here and now my body's here so I can cut because I don't have enough room to go that way on my table because first off, I have too much junk on my table. And second off, my cutting mat doesn't go. I have like the long bit going here. But yeah, because of my table and my corner being there, I kind of can adjust to side to side. But yeah, I get you, Lisa. I'm the same way. It's hard cutting side to side. I end up turning. Hi, Jenny. Okay, here's a machine. So whatever embroidery machine you're working on, you're going to want to send your design to it. So what am I doing? I'm doing the inner border and I'm doing the 6x10. So I have 2 strips and I only have 4 steps because I color sorted it. The first step is showing me where to put my batting. Losing my words. This step, it does not matter what color thread you use. I am doing my actual stitching in black thread. So I'm just going to load black and do all my steps in black just to make life easier. Lower the presser foot and, oh wait, I have to hit embroidery. Now it's ready. Close my thing. Nope. And now start. All right, and this is going to stitch my placement for my batting. And I ran out of glue stick. Let me go see if my kids have another one. Yeah, it's a bit dry. It might work. Okay, I found another one. I've been using just a plain old Elmer's glue stick to kind of hold my things in place. But you can also use spray adhesive or tape. All right, now, because this is so long, I'm going to take this back to my craft table. But if you have like a section right next to your machine, or you can do it on your machine, the point is I don't want to put a lot of pressure here because there's nothing underneath. Like my machine ends here. So I like to put it on a nice flat surface because I am going to be rubbing glue on it. So, all right, here's my hoop. There's my placement stitch. Let's see, this stick of glue is a little bit dried up. Let's see if it's going to work. And this is just to help hold my batting in place because I did opt to cut my batting true to size, I guess. If you are doing where you just have random pieces of batting and it's not trimmed to size, you don't need to do this step. Just lay your batting, maybe put a piece of tape at top and bottom, and then it's going to do the tack down stitch and then you're going to trim it. So I'm doing that, and then I am going to cut my batting right there. And then let's see if I get lucky. Oh, look at that. Perfect. That one's nice and to size. Ta-da. Okay, so now the next step is going to be the placement for your strips of fabric. This one I find is a little tricky. You may, just to be safe, because this is the only spot I have trouble, your needle's going to go down here and it's going to go across and then it's going to go away from your batting. But right here, it comes back, and sometimes my batting gets caught on my presser foot. So you can prevent that by taping it down. Or you can stay there with the stiletto, and when I was doing it earlier, I was just like holding this little spot down so my presser foot wouldn't drag it and pull it up. But I know when I'm live, it's definitely going to mess up. So to be safe, I'm going to tape the bottom of mine. Okay. Retha, with the 9.5 by 14, which size do I start with the quilting design? So you are going to want to grab the, let me look at them, the 1 by 14, open that up, and then copy and paste it so that you have 4 strips in your hoop. The 1 by 14, that should fit in your hoop nicely. And oh, because that's a different size, we were talking about the 9-inch one, so you might not need to do that many hoopings. So the 9, let me show you. All right, this is the, let's put it in a 9.5 by 14 hoop, that one. Okay, centered. This one is actually 13 7/8. So what is 7/8? Okay, so 7 divided by 8 is 0.875, so plus 13. So that's your number. And see, if you did 2 hoopings, it's 27. You probably need to do 2 hoopings and then 1 5x7 hooping. So you'll have 1 less hooping because you have such a big hoop. And this one's cute because it goes up to the number 6, where the previous ones, like, they only go to 4 or they only go to 3. This bigger one goes up to 6. All right, let me know if that helps you, Retha, and all of our friends that are using a machine like me that has a 9.5 by 14 hoop. Yeah, Marina said she's doing it. She's doing 2 hoopings and then 1 5x7 hooping. Yes. Okie dokie. I have my batting in place. Lock and load, lower presser foot. Okay. Maybe have a stiletto nearby just in case. But on all the other ones I didn't have no problem until I got to here. And for my new friends, if you don't know what this tape is, this is a very low tack paper tape that's made by Kimberbell, and I just refer to it as embroidery tape. It works well to help hold things down when you need it to, but you can actually stitch through it. It doesn't mess up your needle, and it rips away like super easily when we're done. All right, now we're ready to place our fabric. Let me bring you back to the craft table. All right, so you can take this tape off now and you'll see like it just kind of tears away. And it's okay if it pulls, like I'll rip that stitch a little bit. That stitch is just there for reference. It's not important in holding anything down. Tape is stuck to me. Get off. Okay. Okay, there we go. And you can see, like here, my stitching, my batting went beyond my stitching. I could trim that if I want to, just like if you were trimming the whole thing. You just trim it like an applique. Just go right along the stitch line. Okay, that is all done. Now we're ready for strips. So let's start on this end, and you're gonna need tape again for this step. So I have some selvage at the top here I don't want to get, so I'm gonna hold it above. But these lines here are a perfect guide to show you right where your fabric should be. All right. And then, like I told you, it's going to go and stitch just 1/8 of an inch in, and it's going to tack that down. But we don't want this to move. So this is, again, when you're going to want to use tape and tape the top and the bottom. And remember, this is one long continuous strip, right? So we're just stitching one section at a time. And I keep reusing my tape, so you can do that too. All right, that's one. Okay, here's the next one. cut some new pieces that are longer. Where's my tape? Here we go. Tape. Okay, really make sure it's in between those lines. And tape that down. And I kind of like press it that way when I'm taping it, just so it's like nice and taut and tight there. Okay, so now you're ready to go to your machine. It's going to do a tack down on either side, and then we're ready for the actual quilting bit, which looks like the ruler. Yay! S. Renee got the stiletto and she loves it as much for the screen as for the stitching. Yes, I love my stiletto too. I need to get a new one though. Okay, so I'm just letting all this bit hang down. Make sure it doesn't get caught up on anything. Also, really make sure it doesn't get folded over and go underneath your hoop and actually accidentally stitch to itself. So just make sure it's nice and hanging over. Y'all can see if I back up here, you see how it's kind of hanging down there. And make sure nothing is going to get in its way. All right. And then if you want to stand by with your stiletto to make sure none of this moves, but it shouldn't. So it starts here right on the edge and then it jumps in right there. And that's going to be your tack down stitch. And then if your machine cuts jump stitches, it will cut and then jump on this side. If your machine doesn't cut jump stitches, you'll just have a jump stitch here that you'll trim later. And that's it. That's going to do the other side. This one looks like I didn't trim it the best, but it should still be fine. Right here, it's kind of not wide enough, but it still grabbed it good. All right, so now we're done. That's the fabric tack down step. I believe it is like a basting stitch. Now, I was curious and wondering to myself about this too. All the other basting stitches that we did with this quilt, we used the water soluble thread. And let me just go ahead and start this while I'm talking. And so that we could remove it after. I don't think that is going to be necessary for the strips because we already have them trimmed to size. Now, unfortunately, my first set of strips are not trimmed to size, but I need that basting stitch as a guideline of where to cut. So I'm going to leave it in. So you can see here's our little ruler action. First step is super easy because you don't have to line anything up except your fabric to be in between your placement line, right? It's the next one that I found could be tricky to make sure it looks like your ruler is continuous as it goes down. So that's going to be our next step after this is done stitching. So you can see how that works. And that's going to be applicable to all of your border quilting, no matter what design you're stitching. The lineup kind of procedure is going to be the same for all of them. All right, so the design is done. I'm just going to leave it alone because I'm going to end up just restitching the same design again on my machine. So I don't have to do anything to the machine except hit start again. But we have to go trim all of this and then rehoop it. All right, Marina says she saw where someone glued the batting to the back of the fabric strip and then laid it down as one unit. I think I saw that too. And I wondered about it, but I was a little too nervous to try it, especially since my first go round, I didn't trim my fabric to the size. So yeah, I think that is an idea that you can definitely try and see which method you like the best. So I just removed my tape. And now got to take the hoop. All right, and we're going to be doing a lot of trimming. And just to give you an idea of how much trimming I've been doing, what I do is you're going to see all these strips that I'm going to trim. I've been saving the strips so that I could do like a zigzag stitch and piece these pieces of stabilizer together to make one big enough for like another hooping later. So especially if you're working with poly mesh, you're going to want to do that. That's going to help you with a lot of waste. Muslin, I probably don't need to do it, but I'm going to do it anyway. Okay, so I'm just trimming right across, and I'm going right underneath the last bit of stitching, pulling my strip up so I don't accidentally trim my strip on accident. Okay, and now this is my stabilizer I will use for my next hooping. So now I could just open it up and get it ready for the next hooping. Put it away for now. Okay, so now that we have that trimmed, then we're just going to trim out these. And I've been doing it as strips. So I think I did a strip this way. And again, trimming right where the top of the strip is tacked down. And then trimming the sides. And I just don't touch my actual fabric. I'm just trimming the stabilizer away. And that one's done. Okay, and now that one's done. And now I save this to possibly piece together later and reuse. Okay, got rid of all my little threads. And now we have our two pieces here, which now we're going to rehoop and extend the design to go the next bit of length. So here's where I would say the trickiness begins. All right, get your hoop again and rehoop more stabilizer or muslin. All right, just make sure it's nice and tight. Okay, and now we're going to go to the machine and stitch the first step, which tells me where to put the batting. And the design is just going to start over, so I don't have to reload it or anything. Okay, and then when that's done, I'll take it back to the craft table and get my batting in place and use a glue stick to hold it where I want it to. Hi, Vanessa and Visionary Creations. Is Visionary Creations Norma? Am I remembering that right? Okay. Yes. Okay, so take that off. All right, Marina said, how wide are your batting strips? They are 1 inch. 1 inch. And they fit right in my little placement stitch. If you want to cut your batting strips bigger, you can cut yourself 1.5 inch strips or 2-inch strips and then trim it when you're done. Like an applique. What am I doing? I need glue. Fitting that in there. Cutting that. I'll see if I get lucky again. Just a smidge longer than what I need. And I'll just trim the end on this one too. Okay. And then, like I said, it can be a little tricky with your presser foot getting caught up on there. So if you're doing the fitted one like me, add some tape there to save you some headaches. All right. All right, so Rita says, because of the bigger hoop, will I just use 3 strips of the yellow rather than all 4? I think you will do all 4 strips, Rita, and do 2 hoopings. Then when you trim all your strips when you're done, only take 2 of your strips are now, I think, done. Like you don't need them to be any longer. The other 2 strips need to be a smidge longer. Just take those 2 strips and do it in a 5x7 hoop. Okay, we're going back to the machine. And now this is my placement step for my fabric. And this is also going to help you figure out right where to put it, because now we're trying to line it up with the previous stitching we've already done. Okay, go back to the craft table. And now we have our placement stitch, but I need to get this tape off of here. Got me trill. I'm too worried about ripping it, then I'm just gonna cut it. There we go. Okay, tape is gone. Now, this is where we need to pay attention. If we take our old strip and we look under on the back, there's a line going across here. And we have a line going across here. Basically what we're doing is we are lining up those lines, folding it in half and lining it up, and then flipping it over. Okay? That is what we are trying to accomplish. I find it works out nicely to where you're pretty much just butting up your two battings. So like this piece of batting and this piece of batting are pretty much just butting right up to one another like this. All right. So once we get that where we think it should be, then tape it into place. Okay, guide your fabric down the placement stitch. See, I find them a little. Okay, and then tape the other end. Okay, so I hope that lines up as nicely as I'm trying to get it to. All right, and then same thing for your other one. You want to fold it back, line up those top of this with the top of this, fold it over, and tape it in place. Okay, let's see if I have better luck this time around than I did my first time. Okay, fingers crossed. Now, the crossing of the fingers is very important in your steps. All right, now the next step is a tack down. When you're sliding this in, make sure this doesn't fold over and go underneath your hoop. Okay, make sure it's hanging off the back. Nothing's going to get stitched to itself. Any extra stabilizer you have is hanging. Your strips are hanging. Nothing is going to get caught under the hoop. Maybe have your stiletto ready just in case something gets caught where it shouldn't. And now it's doing the tack down stitch. And I could see where it started the tack down stitch. It looked like a great spot on continuation of the tack down stitch from the first piece that we did. So hopefully my placement's good. I could see it. Oh yeah, it lined up super nice. Super duper. All right, now we hope that this one starts right there on that little stitch. The needle actually shifts. Yeah. I think I did a much better job this time around than I did my first time. So, something to think about. Cut yourself some scrap pieces of fabric if you're nervous about this. And I did this with a few parts of this quilt because I was nervous. Use some scrap fabric and try testing this out and see if you can get your alignment to be good. If you're nervous about going right in with your special fabric you have set aside for this, especially like, you know, I don't have any more of this. So if I mess it up, I mess up all my borders and I have to, then I really have to, have to go find some other fabric. All right. It looks good. Looks like the needle's going to drop right where the end of my previous stitch was. So yes, super nice. Now the test for me, because something went wrong for me last time when it moved to this, so it lined up perfect on this one. And then when this one was done stitching and it went to this one, it didn't line up correctly. And I'm like, what did I do? I'm just, you know, like, make sure your hoop doesn't bump into anything, especially if you're using that giant hoop on your machine. Make sure there's nothing in the way all back here, that your hoop can hit something that can knock off your alignment of your whole project. Okay, this is done. Let's see. Again, with crossing of the fingers. Let's see if this lines up. Looks good, I think. Yeah, it's a smidge that way. Smidge. But no, okay. I think it's good. It's not as good as this one. It's like literally a hair to the right. But not enough for me to be mad about it. All right. That is done. And I will show you how my alignment went. So Reese asked, are these instructions in the book? I could not find them. They are not in the book. They are in the digital instructions that are on the CD. I thought I printed them out, but I don't know where they are now. I did print them out, didn't I? Let's see if I put them here. No. I don't know where I put them. Nope, sorry, no idea. But they're on the CD that came with the book. And they're in the files. Like no, I'm wrong. They're not on the CD that came with the book. Let's go find them. Okay, open up your stuff. Okay, you're in your quilting files. So this is the files that came with the book. There's an instruction section in there. Go to the quilting files. Go to your Hobby 1 border quilting instructions. PDF. I think I had it pulled up on my computer, but I didn't print it out. This is what you're looking for. So that you see all the designs that are offered. Stop it, Adobe. And they show you how to calculate your size that you need, repeat files, how they work. This is kind of a general instruction that goes with every border quilting they have. So that's what we did. So you placement, batting, tack down the batting, trim the batting. These are the steps I skipped. Then, yeah, this is what I was just talking about. Okay, then it stitches the placement for the fabric, stitch the fabric, tack down, quilting. Then you trim all of that. Then we did this. We fold at the end of batting, and this is where we do. We line up the folding line here. Everything lines up. And then you flip it back over, and then now your everything should be in place and your quilting should be continuous. Okay. Let me know if that helps, Retha, if you found it. Marina says, I was confused by the charts. Me too. You are not alone. That's why, like, in my head, I'm like, I'm just going to do multiple hoopings and hold it up to my quilt and see about what I need. I'm not going to try and figure it out to the very exactness. I'm just doing like a roundabout, what makes sense in my head. Okay, so take the tape off, unhoop. Can't even twist that screw anymore. Get your hoop out the way. And now we're gonna trim the stabilizer, get our strips out the way. And I'm trimming right to the bottom of that stitch line, because that's my guide. That stitch line is my guide to where to do next time. Okay, now flip them that way. Trim here. And then all the sides and everything. And I'm not trimming my actual yellow fabric. I'm just trimming my stabilizer. And I'm just, because I'm trying to get as much out as possible, I am trimming it to where I'm getting that black placement stitch line out of my seam allowance for when I stitch my border to my quilt. Now, this line here, that is where my two things met, and I could see this line was perfect, this line was perfect, this line was perfect. Lovely, right? This one, and this is just me being particular, there is like a hair of a space between the end of the old line and the new line right there. But these look like they lined up good. So I don't know. It might just be how I had my fabric. But that is much better than my first try, because my first try, it was like a whole offset. But no one's going to notice. I probably should have used some scrap fabric to start, but I was like, I've done this before. I have not done one that was this precise. Like I said, those other background quilting designs, they're super forgiving. This one's not as much. Okay, so I think I actually already stitched my long ones. Let's see what I got now. Okay, going according to my thing, I have about 18 inches of border. Okay, if I did my long sides already, That means these are going to be my top and bottom shorter sides, and just playing with my hear me now. Sorry. My microphone just likes to die on me without telling me. But I was saying, hey, Shay Shay. Okay, great. I can see y'all can hear me now. I'm glad I looked up before I went to the machine because that would have sucked. Okay, so 5x7, ready to go to the machine. Now I'm gonna go find my 5x7 design that I made with the same the 1-inch rulers going on it, but it's all the same procedure now. It's just now I'm not stitching as long of a piece. So, all right, and now I'm gonna go back to my home screen, embroidery, Wi-Fi, and it's this one. So this one only has the 1, 2, 3. That's gonna fit in my 5x7 hoop, set, embroider. Oh, it's saying it's too big. It's 6.99 by 5.55. Oh, do I have them spread out too much? That's probably what I did. Let me go back to Embrilliance. Let me delete this one. Delete that pattern. All right, let's go back to Embrilliance and fix it. I must have, when I was looking at it, I probably had it in the wrong hoop. Okay, where was that one? That's a 6x10. Is this not the one I sent? It's in a 5x7 hoop. It's got the 3. They're not even touching the edge. This is saying it's only 4.11 by 7. Maybe I played with it and sent a different one over that got deleted when my stupid program decided to shut down. Yeah, 4 steps. Fits in a 5x7 hoop. Utility, Wi-Fi, 1 inner border, 5x7. Okay. Let's see if it works. Please work. Yay, result. File sent to machine. All right, now let's go see if it works. Oh, never deleted the other one. Let's try this one. All right, this one, the width is only 4.69. The other one, for some reason, was over 5 inches wide. That meant when I set it up in Embroidery, I must still had the 6x10 hoops on the screen, and I spread them out, too much. Okay, fix that problem. First step is where to put the batting. Now let me go check the chat. It's okay, Retha, no worries. Replay is always there for you. And you can fast forward to the part you already got and just get to the part which you need to know. Ah, that's a great idea. Shay Shay says she always clicks fit in the hoop. Great idea. Or center to the hoop. Maybe not fit in the hoop, because fit in the hoop will actually resize it. And we don't want to resize these quilting designs because then they won't line up. I think fit in the hoop actually resizes. Let's see. If I click it here, fit to hoop. Yeah, it resizes it. Oops. It didn't let me undo. Okay, never mind. What am I doing? Nope. Center in the hoop, yes. Okay. We have our lines. So, craft table. Okay. Should have enough of this left. Smooth that out. Trim. And then this in place. And I'm going to add some tape at the bottom. Just so my presser foot doesn't get hung up down there. All right, back to the machine. Okay. Now we're doing the placement for the fabric. Okay. Now let's go figure out our lineup. So I'll turn it this way now since I'm not working with such a big hoop. And these are my pieces. So now I got this long piece. I'm still going to fold it right here. I'm folding it where the end of the last one went. And that's what I'm lining up with this. Okay. Once you get that where you think you want it, flip that back right side up. Make sure these side pieces look good. And tape that into place. I just remembered I never took my tape off down here. Let me get that. Okay, and trim that little bit off if it's in your way. All right, now lay this nice and flat and pull. It's nice and taut, and then make sure your fabric is fitting in between those two lines perfectly or close enough. And tape your bottom. Okay, let me get this tape out of here. Since this is a basting stitch, this tape is not tearing away as easily as it usually does. When it's a usual running stitch, it tears away super easy, but the basting stitch is not as easy. All right, here's our other strip. Fold it in half, right where our last bit left off, and line that up. And fold it up. And then tape your bottom. So just take your time with it. Like I said, if you're nervous, cut some scrap pieces of fabric and see if you can stitch the first one and then stitch the second one and everything lines up good. This ruler design is great to practice with because this is the one I've found you really do have to be the most precise with placement. The So Happy one wasn't as finicky. I didn't line it up perfect for that one either, but you can't tell. Where is it? This is where it's lined up. You can see I had it a smidge too close because the bits of the Y go in to the S right there. You see that? That's where this is where the line is. I had them a little too close together, but that is not obvious at all. The ruler is much more obvious. All right, so now we're ready to do the tack down stitch and the actual quilting. Miss why I leave the stabilizer long. Okay. Sorry, Shay. Okay, she's got to go back to work. The stabilizer, I'm just rehooping. So for me, it's like causing less waste. If I have a long strip of stabilizer and then I take it up and rehoop it. For projects like this where I'm constantly making more of something, it allows me to kind of save some of the bits of stabilizer that are just in the outer part of the hoop. Okay, we are now on the tack down step. And this one helps me. Okay, that looks like that stitch lined up good. That stitch looks like that lined up decent. Now this is the real test. Is it gonna, oh no, never mind. We're on for the tack down on the other side. And it seems a hair off now in the other direction. Oh well. All right, and now for the actual quilting. This, we'll see if it lines up just right. It looks like it. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, let's see if I do as good a job on this side. It's close. Yeah, that's good. Okay, so I did better. Okay, so now I think we are done with this, what is going to be my shorter strip, which I did 2 6x10 hoopings and 1 5x7 hooping. I did 2 strips at a time. But remember, this is all going to be based on your size hoops that you have and what the length of your quilt is, the width and length of your quilt after you've pieced all the blocks together. Okay, I could unhoop this. And I can trim. Okay, use that for the next time. Now trim all these pieces. Okay. All right, Retha, you getting the hang of it now? Things are making sense? So what I just did is going to be the same as what you're going to do with 2 of your strips, because if you have 2 of your 9.5 by 14 hoopings done with all 4, 2 of them are going to be good enough now. And you're going to take 2 more of them and make them a little bit longer using your 5 by 7 hoop. Okay. So now when I hold these up this way, if I have, overhang on this side and overhang on this side, like it's more than enough for the top and the bottom. And then my other ones I've already established are more than enough for the length of the quilt. So that is me being done with my inner borders. Let's go ahead and just do 1 hooping of the outer border. It's the same procedure, but I just want to give you a visual. And I'll do one where I have some already sewn and we need to add on to it so you can see how I line them up. And it's just like the smaller borders, but I think it's a little less more forgiving. All right, let me clean up my mess here because too much stuff in my way. Okay, those hoops. All right, so I have all my inner border ones done. I do need to trim though. I still got to trim these because I made them too big. Those first ones I made yesterday when I wasn't live when I did it. I just wanted to go through the process, which I'm glad I did. Okay, clean up my mess here. All right, I have 2 of these, and I was doing these in the 9.5 by 14 hoop. So now you can see that being done. It is the same process as those smaller hoops. I just can get more done in 1 hooping. Also, these are wider borders, so unfortunately, you're not going to get to be able to do 2 side-by-side ones in a 6 by 10 hoop or a 5 by 7 hoop. You're going to have to just do 1 at a time, 1 strip at a time. And then I still have 2 more strips I haven't started yet, so I'll do that later. But I'll show you this. So I think I did 2 9.5 by 14. And let's make this one my long one. I think oh yeah, I figured out for this one, 9.5 by 14, 9.5 by 14, and then I'm going to use my 9 by 9 hoop or 9.5 by 9.5 hoop that came with my Stellaire, and that will give me the extra length I'll need to make this one longer than what I'll end up actually needing after the inner borders are on, because you have to take into account now that extra inch that is surrounding your quilt because of your inner border. So just make it longer than you need. And then when you're ready to piece together, you can have everything trimmed to the correct size. All right, so now let me find that hoop. So this is my 9.5 by 9.5 hoop that came with my Stellaire. And I already had some stabilizer cut that was big enough for this hoop. And let me change all over. Okay. All right. Yes, I'm so happy the visuals are helping you, Marina, because I know I'm the same way. I want to see it. I want to see all the nitty gritty, little stupid details that people probably assume you don't need to see. That's the stuff I want to see. Ozzy, go lay down. My dog is fussing at me. Okay. Can I fit this? I'll be cutting it close. Should turn it this way. Yeah, I can only get one more hooping out of this anyway. All right, make sure I got the side. The arrow pointing to the top. All right. Make sure that's nice and tight. And so with this one, I'm going to be adding on, I already got a good bit done. Sorry, the darker fabric's a little bit harder to see. But now I'm just going to embroider about 9 more inches of the end here. These I got almost 14 inches for each hooping, but I only need a little bit more. So this is when you gauge it. Okay, like what hoop should I use next? So I'm going to do this, and it'll get it almost to the end, and that's going to be more than enough than what I need. So I think I loaded this design in my machine. Let's go check. All right. Home. Wi-Fi. This one I named Outer Border 9x9. Yeah, this one. Yeah. Outer Border 9x9. Only has 4 steps. Color sorted. Okay, now I gotta put my hoop on. And the machine's gonna recognize I'm putting a bigger hoop. And it's gonna move. There we go. Now it's in the center. Okie dokie. And I just need to lower the presser foot. The needle's not threaded anymore. All right, and now I'm gonna switch to, where's the presser foot? I'm switching threads now because this outer border, I really went back and forth with what color I want to do for the quilting on the outer border. I started with like thinking I wanted to do white because I wanted it to stand out, but the quilting pattern is super busy. So I ended up going with navy, but I don't think you can do any wrong here. I think you can use any color. If you wanted to use a lighter blue so that it stood out, or I kind of maybe wish now I would have did a little bit of a lighter color. You can see my navy. It looks good, but it doesn't super stand out. So this is what the dark looks like. I think on the example on the book, I think they did use a lighter, maybe a lighter blue. I can't tell, or I can't tell if they used white. Can you see this? I don't know if it's going to focus on that, but it looks a little bit lighter on the book here than it does on my sample. On the back of the book, though, it looks like it's dark, so I don't know. Whatever color you want to use. I decided on navy, but I think anything will look good. Okay. Did I thread my needle? Yes. All right, so same thing as we did last time. First step is showing us where to put our our batting. I did already cut some 3-inch batting strips. So I'm going to do the same thing that I did for the other one. Oh yeah, maybe a light gray. I think that'll be good. All right, that's done. I'm gonna go put my my batting on. I keep calling it quilting. It's there. I like it turned to the side. I think it's a little easier for me to get everything right where I want it. Okay. Right, and the next one. Okay, and then I'm still gonna tape this so my presser foot doesn't catch it. It's mainly this corner that's important, not this one as much. Okay, now we are going to stitch the placement stitch for the fabric. Okay. Okay, now we can figure out right where to put our fabric. Okay. And I will say the darker thread you use for these outline stitches is really helpful, I think, with placement. Okay, so I have my strip that I've already started. I'm gonna go to the end and fold it where I could see the last bit of stitching for the last piece I did, and now this is all my new fabric. Just fold that right in half, and then we want to line up this top of our fold with the top placement stitch line here. Okay. Hold it in place and then carefully fold it up now so you got the right side up. And once you have it right where you think it should be, tape it into place. And then, oh, I forgot. Get my tape off the bottom. Ozzy is crying. He probably wants to go outside, so I'm sorry, buddy. I'm almost done. Okay, I snipped some of those stitches on accident. That's okay. Okay. Stay. All right, next piece. Again, I'm gonna fold it right where the last bit left off. Try to line that up good. Hold this in place. And tape it. Okay. I think that is all good. Now, when I go to the machine, I'm going to fold these here so that I don't mess them up. My little tails here. So now I'm going to bring it over to the machine. Marina's asking, will I be doing any of the mini quilts? The sewing is my sunshine. Looks very interesting. Yes, I really want to do both mini quilts. Really want to do the pin cushion, but I don't know when I'm going to get to do them because I haven't even started the other so long. I told y'all I'm doing the Main Street Celebration bench pillow. I've been supposed to start it for like pretty much almost 2 weeks now, or a week and a half, and I have not started it like even remotely. So I have to do that. But I really want to do those other mini quilts. I just don't know when I'm gonna get to them before the summer, because if y'all have heard me say, my kids don't really let me get much work accomplished over the summer. So I hope I line this up good. Thing. Okay, there's the tack down stitch. Okay, and y'all saw how I flipped over the tops of the borders, and just make sure they're out of the way. Make sure they don't get caught underneath the hoop. Let's keep an eye on them. Sorry if I'm blocking your view. But yeah, okay, that's going down in my windowsill. So that's good. Okay, let's see if I do a better job this time. Well, I won't know till the next step with the quilting to see if that word joy is like underneath this, or it doesn't go into the S like I did on the last ones. Just making sure. Oh, it's staying that way. Yeah. Okay, and now for the actual quilting. And then while that's quilting, I'm going to take down my quilt and start looking at the inner borders with it. No, it's still maybe have it a smidge too high, but it's not bad at all. This one's much more forgiving than the ruler design. Okay. All right, so one issue I have with my setup here is I don't have a zoom on this camera here. I can't go in and out, so y'all can't see the whole length of the quilt. But what I want to show you is once you have your border stitched and trimmed, I still need to trim these. We're going to pretend they're trimmed for right now. Once you get them trimmed, you want to take the long part of your quilt, okay, and hold your border like this. Maybe, so I have some selvage at the top here if you'd want to trim it, or just use this line as a guide and line that up with the top of your quilt. And then go all the way down. Once you have it where you want it, then fold it over and do right sides together and pin or clip and sew with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. When you're done, you can press it open and then you can use the top and bottom as a guide to see about trimming. So like I line my ruler up with my top here, and then I take my rotary cutter and trim this off. So now I have widened my quilt on, and then rinse and repeat for the other side. Make it to where the so put it right sides together, 1/4 inch seam allowance, press it open. When you're done, then use your ruler to chop off, excuse me, the top and the bottom. So now you have a border on both sides of your quilt, okay, that are sewed in place and trimmed. Let's pretend this is trimmed and everything lines up nicely, okay. Now you have a nice length here. Oops. Stay. All right. Again, we're pretending this is now sewn together and trimmed, and we got a nice straight top here. Then take your shorter inner borders. I need more weights. Let's see. There we go. All right. Now you have this. Take your shorter inner border that you made and figure out, you know, again, I have this selvage here. So I'm going to line up this line with the edge of this. Okay. Get it right side together. And now do your 1/4 inch seam allowance. Open it, press your seams, open. And now you see, okay, I got this overhang here and I got a little bit here. And you're going to trim it with your rotary cutter so that everything is nice and square and lines up. And you're going to repeat the same for the bottom. So let me know if that all makes sense, because I'm not going to do that bit live today, but I will see about filming it and just make, you know, like do the little fast forward thing so that it goes quickly. filming it when I do it, and just have it as a little short video so you could see kind of general overview of putting it. But I'm going to do the sides first, and then the top and bottom, and square everything off. And then once all of those are done, then I'm going to take my outer borders, and I think I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to do the sides first. I'm going to line, so at this point, this is going to be trimmed. So this is only going to go to here, and I have a perfect little side here. I'm going to have my outer border line up with this one, or if I have a little bit of hangover, when I'm done is when I'm going to trim it. But I'm going to have it fit the whole length of the quilt going down all the sides. Flip it over, right sides together, 1/4 inch seam allowance, press your seams open. So now it's going to look like this. Stay. And then any overhang I have on the top and bottom, I'm going to trim even with this line. And then I'll take my top and bottom borders. Now I have this extra width here on both sides. Right sides together. 1/4 inch seam allowance, press it open, and then I will trim anything, you know, that is hanging over on the side. So now I'm getting nice square edges again. And you just want to make sure everything is nice and square. Please let me know if that makes sense. In the meantime, that is stitching. That's just a simple overview of me pretending to put the borders on. And just telling you that's exactly what I'm going to be doing. And just before I start, I'm going to make sure that the strips that I have quilted already are indeed quilted long enough so that I got some wiggle room after sewing that I can trim off the ends. All right, so that will be something I will do. I don't know when. I don't know. I don't think I'm gonna have time today. I got some other stuff I got to do. But I'll record it and just speed up the video so you could see it being put together. All right, next week. This is the part I got to look and do some reading on. Next week, I think we're going to add the embellishments and maybe do stitch in the ditch. I think we can get both of those done at one time. Okay, here is my finished. This one came out really good. This one was a smidge too, I should have pulled this up a little bit more, but it's still, like I said, very forgiving. You can't tell where one starts and one ends. Okay, let's go back to the craft table. And I'm going to throw away all this tape now because it's not very sticky anymore. Once you use it a few times, it's not very sticky. Okay, my dog really wants to go outside. I'm coming, Ozzy. I don't know if y'all could hear him barking. He's a little whiny baby. He loves to cry. All right, I'm going to trim that. Let's talk about what's going to happen next. So, okay, I'm going to finish my border. I still have 2 more to make, but y'all have seen the procedure now. Hopefully y'all are comfortable with continuing to make all of your borders. And if you have any questions about, okay, I have a 6x10 hoop, how many hooping should I do? Just send me a message or email and I'll help you figure it out. Okay. Then have all our borders, and I will film a I'll film a video and then just press a little button to make it go fast. sped up video of you seeing me actually sewing the border on. Next week, I want to do embellishments, and probably, so they have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 buttons that go on the some of the filler blocks. See right there? What I'll try and do is I'll probably have 4 of them already sewn on, and then I will sew the last one on so y'all could see. We have an embellishment for the pin cushion. I have to figure out the iron with just, I think maybe we're just going to tack down the little cord on the iron so that it stays the way we want it. And we got a cute little piece we add to the sewing machine. So that shouldn't take long, especially if I do 4 of the buttons ahead of time and y'all just see the last one. So I think we can hand sew those buttons on. I think those buttons are too big to actually use the sew button foot and feature on the sewing machine, but I'll play with it and try not to break my machine in the process. I will let you know. And then we are going out. What I'll do is I'll have my backing fabric, which is this one. I'll have it ironed and trimmed already. Actually, I might just lay it out, and what we're going to do is going to be hard to do live because I don't have enough space. I really need to use the floor, but we'll lay the backing fabric down, lay the quilt top on top of it, maybe use some basting spray and smooth it out real good. And then we'll use some safety pins and pin it all in place. And then I'm going to show you how to do stitch in the ditch. And we'll just get as far as we can for the, 2 to 3 hour mark of working. And if I'm not done with stitch in the ditch, y'all should have a good idea by then. And then the last thing will be binding, which I think needs a video because binding was so confusing to me when I first started. That should work out good. Binding will be on, so if next week's the 15th, that's embellishments and adding the backing. Then the 22nd would be binding. That is my kid's last day of school. It should work out to where we could get this quilt done before my kids are home for the summer. That's what we're trying. That's what we're going for. And then we can, hopefully I'll have started the bench pillow. That's my next project. And I'll just record those videos and just post them on YouTube. Those won't be live. But that is it. Let me know if you have any questions. Remember, you can always email me at hello@carlybell.com. Or you can message me on Facebook or Instagram. I'm on Instagram too. And that's it. So next time I will be here is for next Thursday's Sew Along live video. And then next Friday, we have our May Sip and Stitch, which I just started working on today. We're going to be doing an In the Hoop luggage tag. So I think that's going to be fun. This will be my first time doing a design from Embroidery Garden, who's a lady named Reen that designs those, and she's a great teacher too. She's done a lot of stuff with Sewing Machines Plus as well, so I'm excited to try one of her designs for the first time. And we can make some luggage tags for our suitcases in case you were traveling like me this summer. We can make some cute ones, and I think I have some ideas to use some really fun patterned faux leather to make the girls' luggage tags. So that's going to be next Friday. And then we'll continue finishing up the Sew Along the next week. So thanks so much for joining me. I hope you have a great rest of your Thursday. Oh, thank you so much. Claire, thank you for the birthday wish. My birthday was this past Monday, May 5th, Cinco de Mayo. Great birthday to have, especially if you love margaritas, which I drank several of them this past weekend. It was wonderful. So thank you so much for that. Marina said binding and possibly the quilt hanger. Yes. Thank you for reminding me of that, Marina. Remind me again when we get closer, because I want to do that too. I want to do that too, because I plan on hanging mine just on a curtain rod, but we can go over the options that they have. Oh, and thank y'all for wishing me a happy birthday. And that reminds me, I am running a sale on my Embroiance online course that I have that teaches you how to use all of the great features that can be found in Embroiance Essentials. So the name of the course is Embroidery Essentials, but I'm teaching you all about the software program. And I have it on sale this week. I think the sale ends tomorrow, May 9th at midnight. And I will put a link to that sale. I'll try to remember right after this is over. I'll put it in the description box so you could see, and it'll bring you to a page. It'll tell you everything you need that's included with the course. So if you read that whole page, it should answer all of your questions. But the big things are it's all pre-recorded. You can watch it whenever you want. There are over 50 lessons that are categorized into 12 modules. And you can watch them on any device that has an internet browser. So your phone, your tablet, your computer, and possibly your smart TV if you can access an internet browser there, which I think you can. I've just never tried it. You have lifetime access. So you can go through the course now and then say next year you're doing something and it was a piece that you've never used before. You can go back and look at those lessons for that particular topic, like envelopes. I never use envelopes, but I can go back in the lessons and rewatch the lesson on envelopes and be like, oh, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do. You can go as fast or as slow as you want. There is a, private Facebook group for students only where you can come and ask questions. Or if you are not a Facebook person, there's a question submission form where you can send me questions and I'll email you back. So ongoing support even after you take the course is the main thing I wanted to get out there, because sometimes I take classes myself online and I have questions and that's it. You took the course and there's no person to talk to after. I'm still here. You can ask me questions. So, but yeah, that's all about Embroidery Essentials, and that is on sale. Ends tomorrow, May 9th, 2025, midnight Central Time Zone. And if you have any questions, just email me. All right, that's it for today. Thanks so much. I will see you next week. Bye-bye.